Okay, continuing on now that I've got stuff back started and things cutting and keeping busy. Next up was one, I think I previewed this one for you, which was the elevated walkways. This project is, what you're seeing here is the kind of the final bits and pieces of it, I guess. This one I'm probably going to, I've got a bunch of texturing that I have to add to it to really completely flesh it out and make it into a serious finished product. What you're seeing here is just the last of the cuts, or at least some detail on the cuts. There are other pieces to it. Those will get their own separate video, something totally special for it. So let me move some of this stuff off of it. So we'll get all the figs off. Alright. So, start off with the uprights. So I finished the upright design, and they work reasonably well. I'm still thinking on if I want to keep this kind of asymmetric shape, but also offer something that's more girdery, something that has more of a lattice work structure to it. These are kind of chunky, which I like, but I may want to make some changes on them. In any event, they are pre-drilled for magnets. Somebody had suggested as a better way of, instead of me doing the linking, the puzzle piece style links, to do magnets was a very good idea, so I went ahead and did magnets on them. So they'll each come with a strip to allow you to put magnets on them, and what that'll allow you to do is attach multiple of them together. What I may also do, because you notice that this one is off of the thing, I may add a recess to add magnets in the top of them. So then if you really wanted to make it so that it all comes apart, you can, and it gives you a few more options to magnetize everything. Being a gamer, magnets are big. So, get those out of the way. This is the, this is the basic bridge section. It's a little bit longer than it was before, and I made it a little bit taller. So I added about an extra ½ an inch to 3/4 of an inch between the road bed and the top to give you more room, so you can actually fit larger models under there. Still has the lower lattice work, and this is what I was kind of talking about on the way that I may do the others, is to match that. I decided to add the side windows, again to give you a little bit more cover, and then I left the top. Originally I had a solid piece that was going to go across here, but in order to make it playable, I decided to go to these smaller pieces. So that's really the shape of it. What's left to do on this is the texturing, and what I'm thinking on doing is, for the texturing on the road bed, thinking on doing it two kind of moving sidewalk type patterns. If you've been to you've seen those moving, the people mover type things that you see at an airport or something like that. Thinking on doing 2 rows of those, so one going one direction, one going the other. Main reason being is I wanted this to be more of a pedestrian elevated walkway, but I also figured I'd make it wide enough that if you really wanted to, you could fit vehicles in it. So that was that one, and they pretty much just sit on the ends. So let me line that up, and we'll do the same thing on this end. And doing these with the camera this close is never really that good, but there you go. So that would be those two fitting together. And I'm going to move this camera back a bit more so you can see a little bit better. There we go. Next up that I did, I went ahead and finished up the stairs. And this is kind of one level of the stairs. Again, added the magnets at the back. And in order to keep the stairs at a decent length, I added a landing. By adding the landing, it made it so that the stairs weren't as steep. So it gave me a little bit more room to play with. It does take up more space on the table, but figured that that was a better option than having a very steep staircase that you wouldn't be able to use normally. So that would be the stairs, and once again it magnets together. Now this piece, this one, after got a chance to put some models on it and just test some things, and the space underneath was perfect in that you had a nice space under that you could walk through and those sorts of things. Underneath the low one, you could actually see underneath it, so you could shoot underneath there as well. The problem is this is wide open area. All of this up in here is wide open. So what I'm doing is I'm following this same side texture that I have here, and I'm going to add just little blocks on each one of these so that it'll cover, this one will cover the full tread, but then this one will cover to there, this one will cover to there, this one will cover to there, this one will cover to there. Actually, the bottom one I'll probably leave off, and then do the same thing on these and leave the bottom one off. I'm also going to add the same kind of railing, so the same railing that I was using before, a movable one that you could put around the two sides that you're not using. So that way you're giving your figures some kind of cover while they're on there. I don't want it to be a sniper killing ground, basically. So a lot of the goals with some of these designs are to keep that from happening and to give you more room to play with. So that's those two parts out of the way. So let me move this. And, oops, a ton of space. Yeah. So I'm going to get that out of the way, and that out of the way, and that. Next up, this is one that I need to cut the final of. So right now you get to see it here in paper. But what this was a billboard. And I'll pull the guys off of it. But this was a billboard. So it still uses the same uprights as the other. I followed that same theme in that we're using the octagonal end pieces. The thing with this piece, what's going to be nice about this, I mean, this one I've still got to go back and cut it out of wood, but this one's going to be a mix of materials. So it's going to be wood for the main structure, but the signboard is actually, I'm going to do it out of acrylic. So I'm going to do it out of a clear acrylic, which will allow you, if you wanted to, and I'm going to end up doing a texture pattern on it, so similar to like I did with the wall, with the laser walls with the hex grid, so that if you wanted to, you can actually edge light it. There'll be a little bit of a gap that if you wanted to at the back, and I'm spinning around, you could actually put an LED back here and it would light, whoops, it would light the entire thing up to give you kind of a little neater look for it. Something a little bit more future and something high-tech. So that's really it for those of pieces that I have cut to show you. There's a couple more pieces which are pretty much the roads in different lengths, and there is a vertical section for stairs going up. I think I still have an older prototype of that. Alright, here we go. So, got the older prototype for that, and that's what this piece was. So this would be a stairway to get, or a ladder way to get you up and down between the levels, or an elevator or whatever you want to call it, kind of like the tube system. But it's, again, it's another piece, similar design. The one issue that you have with this one is how do you get the figs in? So I got a feeling that this front piece is probably going to go away. And what I'm going to do, there's a ladder that goes back at the back. But what I'm probably going to do with that ladder is, who knows, make it maybe so there's a platform that allows you to move things up and down. But this again would, and it's going to eventually get the magnets at the back so it'll click onto the others. There are Y pieces, so I've got Y pieces and T intersections as well for it. It'll give you a few more options. The last thing that I'm working on for the elevated is to see if I can do an angled ramp. Because I'd like to have a ramp that you can come up to. The one problem with it is that kind of work does get rather long. So what I may end up doing is just having as an option that you can buy just the outer rings, and then you can put your own road bed in. So that way you can make them as long or as short as you want. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. That project is really going to be winding up here fairly quickly. My goal is to have that project 100% ready and all the bugs worked out of it by the end of March. So they're going into April and getting ready for Adepticon. I can have it for that, so I can show people, hey, this is the newest one that I'm working on. So we'll see how that all turns out. So that's it for those two. So we went through, that's all the sci-fi stuff. Next up is all of that stuff there. So stay tuned. Take it easy, guys.